friends, we are going to record this meeting so that it'll play on the township cable channel, and it'll also play on YouTube. My name is Kevin McCluskey. I'm a commissioner in the 3rd Ward. What we're going to try to hope to achieve tonight is this is a follow-up to a meeting we had in April. We have PennDOT officials, and I'll let them all introduce themselves. We have representatives of Police Department. We have representatives of Public Works in Hereford Township. And what we're going to discuss is the current status of the Ardmore Avenue Bridge project. We've submitted a lot of questions that we have received during the course of this project that were relayed to myself or to Commissioner Lewis or Commissioner Siegel or anybody else within the township, and we've given them to in advance. So we're going to try to address all the questions that people ask, whether they're here or not. PennDOT will give a presentation on the current status of the project, and then our police department will also give a presentation in terms of traffic control and issues that we've seen in that. So as I said, there's also a handout here, just before I do introductions quickly, about the 7th one down, where it says the current road opening date is June 16th. That should be June 16th, 2020, just so everyone knows. But the PennDOT can talk about sort of what the status of the project.
2020, not 2019.
Yes, 2020. Right. So as I said, my name is Kevin McCluskey. I'm the 3rd Ward Commissioner. My left is Dan Siegel. He's the Commissioner in the 4th Ward. Then Andy Lewis, he's the Commissioner in the 5th Ward. To his left is State Representative Greg Vitale. To his left is Township Engineer Dave Pannoni. Amy Cuthbertson, our Assistant Township Manager, is to his left, and sitting in the penalty box over there is our new Director of Public Works, Dan Marinari. And then I will let members of the Police Department and PennDOT introduce themselves, since they're the ones going to be giving presentations tonight.
John Viola, Chief of Police.
Joe Hagan, Deputy Chief of Police.
Paul Lutz, PennDOT Traffic.
Janet Vogel, PennDOT Traffic.
And Steve Laws, PennDOT Construction Unit.
Gene Blum, PennDOT Assistant.
Just so everyone understands sort of the format we're going to do here, anybody can give statements, questions, comments. We're going to do both presentations first, and then we'll open it up to the floor for any comments or questions or concerns that you have, and we'll try to give the best answer that we can. All right? Anybody else have a comment they want to go before PennDOT? All right, Mr. Blum, if you want to.
It's on. Good evening, everybody. Again, my name is Steve Laws. I'm Senior Construction Engineer for PennDOT, overseeing this project. We're happy to be here tonight and give you a little update on our bridge construction project. Let's see, we go. Just a little slide of our project team, PennDOT and SEPTA. We've been working very hard with SEPTA to get this project done and everything coordinated them. Our designers, Patrick and Navarre Wright, our construction management folks, and our inspection team, urban engineers and CMC engineering, contractor J.D. Ekman, of course, PennDOT. A little project overview. Notice of proceed on the project was February 4th, 2019. Nearly a $10 million project. We've paid out $1.5 million so far to date. Project duration, almost 500 days the total. However, as you see, our anticipated detour duration is 338 days. So far, we've used up 213 of our 494. Detour time so far is 52 of the allotted 338. Currently, our estimated road opening date, that's the end of the 338, is June 16th, 2020. We'll talk about that just a little bit. So location overview, you can see the big bridge over the SEPTA tracks, the little bridge over Cobbs Creek. You can see the golf course and the intersection at Haverford and Ardmore Avenues there. This is a artist rendering of our SEPTA bridge over the tracks, and you can see the ADA ramps, the steps, and there'll be big ramps built there for handicapped access on either side. Most of the walls will have a stone formwork. We're actually working with the local Haverford historic folks, and it's going to be maybe a slightly change for the parapets over the tracks, but this is just a rendering of our bridge. And this is the rendering of the Cobb's Creek Bridge. This one is expanding it. Actually, we're going to be putting a golf cart path underneath the bridge there. So there'll only be one crossing of the road instead of two, at the golf course. This one's just kind of show a bit of the complication of this job. You can see this slide actually is showing the small arch bridge over Cobb's Creek and several of the retaining walls. And next slide shows the big bridge. So there are a total of 8 retaining walls on this project with the 2 bridges and also the ramp structures that are out there. So it's pretty complicated. There's 12 total structures there for this project. Construction project progress to date. As we said, we had our notice to proceed in February. We worked on our utility relocations, which went pretty well. We wanted to do that before the road was closed as an effort to mitigate issues that we had over on College Avenue. You see the detour for the road went into effect on July 15th, 2019. Again, it shows the allowed 338 days. The bridge was actually demolished on August 2nd, 2019. We had a couple issues getting ready for that. Nothing was really related to the project per se. We closed the road on the 15th. We had to cut and cap the gas line that goes across the bridge. That went well. And if you may recall, that coming weekend, we were planning on doing the demolishing of the bridge. Temperatures were about 100 degrees. One of the issues with this is to do the work, we had to get a shutdown of the overhead transmission lines. It's part of the whole Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland grid. And due to the high temperatures, we weren't able to get an outage. So we had to work with SEPTA a lot to get, because shutting down the tracks, you had to shut down the tracks, which meant shutting down the whole SEPTA line and busing around the area. And so we pushed that whole plan onto the next weekend, and everything was going real well for the next weekend until I think it was Friday, and there was an issue in the Bryn Mawr electrical substation, and again, we couldn't get the outage, so it was pushed to August 2nd. The demolition actually went very well. It worked all weekend from Friday evening into, I think it went till Monday morning, or was it Sunday evening that we got done, Mark? Sunday evening we got done. We got the big bridge done. We got our sheeting along the tracks done. It was actually a very successful weekend. This one is showing our detour. As you see, the detour uses College Avenue, Darby Road, Haverford Avenue, going around that way. The next, we're going to get into a little on our traffic control. We've got our signals engineer, Paul Lutz, is going to talk about what we're doing with the traffic control.
Good evening, everybody. I'll follow the slide a little bit, but I want to deviate from it, let you know some of the timing adjustments we made for the detour as well. We added the left turn phasing at College Avenue and Haverford Road, so that's working pretty well. We also went in and adjusted times at Haverford and Eagle and Haverford and Arlington Road. Those two intersections are very sensitive to each other with everybody coming in from the different directions, so there's not much else we can do there, but it's running pretty decent. We also changed the times and adjusted their offsets up at the 2 Darby roads on Eagle Road and got them running pretty decent. Again, those are very sensitive because they're feeding into each other and there's only so much we can do because of the close proximity of the signals. Just talking to the police officers tonight again, now that school's open, it looked like there was a little backup on Darby Road at Ardmore, so that one I can adjust a little bit, so we're gonna make a little timing adjustment there for the AM. And also, they were saying at College and Haverford, there's a little backup there, so I can adjust that slightly as well. I gotta be careful because anytime I add to College, I'm gonna be taking that away from Haverford, so we're trying to balance them out a little bit. We also added additional detour signs in key locations to help stop some of that traffic from going on to some of the local roads, which is definitely helping. Again, working really close with the police department. They've been phenomenal in letting us know exactly where and what the issues are, and then we were able to get out there and adjust signing and adjust the signals like we've done. I think we've gotten it running pretty well considering the traffic patterns that are coming through here already, even without the detour. Some of these improvements are also going to stay out there as well once the detour is lifted. So there are improvements that were made with the bridge detour that are going to stay permanently to the commuting traffic around the area. I just wanted to cover one thing for our signing as well. There was some questioning coming up at Coopertown Road, right where it ties into Darby. There's a stop sign there, and some people have been asking about improvements there. And that's not really part of the detour. We're trying to discourage people from using it as a detour. You're supposed to stay on College and go down to Darby and make the left there and head around. But we're going to actually do some changes to the pattern right at the mouth of the roadway where Coopertown comes into Darby. We're going to put a little pavement working there. I think it's already completed. I think they already completed it in the last week or so. So we'll get out there and check that too. I think I hit everything that we were supposed to go over for the timing and the signing, but I want to take this opportunity real quick. If anybody has any comments on some of the patterns out there, yes.
When you're driving up Haverford and making a right on Ardmore Avenue, there is a no turn on red sign there. Is it possible to get rid of that no turn on red traffic on?
We can look into it. Maybe we can cover it for now instead of removing it. Yeah, okay, I can look into that.
From Hathaway in the morning, from Hathaway to Ardmore Avenue is really bad because where the road is closed, everybody's in the right-hand lane, but then of course there's people that want to, get the left-hand lane, because it's in the left-hand lane, and then merging and turning like one way to the, or is there any way that lane and that left-hand lane and side where people are turning left on the.
I don't think we can change the lane pattern for that. We can definitely do something with the no turn on red. Is this the approach for the no turn on red you're talking about, right?
That's approaching
Yeah.
Ardmore. That's where people making a left for the two houses.
Yeah. But we can possibly bag those signs for the detour time. I can look into, typically for that no turn on red, it's a sight distance issue to the left. We can look at that as well, and we can work with the township that may be able to remove that permanently. Another issue is you're looking at some of the ped moves too across there, so we'll look into it, but it's a possibility to do it during the detour. Any other questions?
Before you ask the question, just because there are, I know people who want to see the video, and we want to make sure they can hear it on the video. So if we're going to have a mic, so if you have a question, we're going to walk around with the mic. The initial question earlier that we just discussed, just for people watching, discussed whether the no turn on red on Hereford Avenue approaching Ardmore could be temporarily covered up during the course of the deed.
Yeah, my question is as much a comment as a question, is just to keep a vigilant eye as you're going north on College, approaching Haverford Road, because I've been on there where it has been a 5-second light where 3 cars get through, and then another time it's 15 or 20 seconds, and it's the same time of the day. So I understand maybe modifying the timing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon versus 8 o'clock in the morning versus 6 p.m., right? But that has been backed up in the summertime, all the way past Golf House, halfway to Tunbridge.
Okay.
And then I've tried to turn around and go to Coopertown, and it's all blocked up that way as well. And then it's certainly not helping matters that PECO's doing all the road construction in the neighborhood, and they don't put road closed ahead, so you drive all the way up, and then you gotta turn all the way around. But the going north over Haverford Road has been a challenge at times.
Are you noticing gaps possibly in front of you? Sometimes people are looking at their phone, and there's something in there that's called passage time, that if a couple seconds go by and nobody gets up in time,
Yeah, I mean,
it'll gap out?
I mean, I was on the bridge proper and
Okay.
didn't make it through the light.
Okay,
So, now that was only candidly 1 or 2 times, but with additional traffic coming back from, vacation time, I'll find out tomorrow, because I have an 8 o'clock breakfast meeting. And
Okay.
It's gonna be, I don't even know when I should leave.
I actually have a question. Early on in the project at Ardmore and Darby, traffic coming from on Ardmore toward Darby and toward the bridges, all the traffic was turning left for the most part, so the light for people who were turning right or who were going straight into the neighborhood was 2 or 3 cars. I haven't had that many complaints, but I've driven through it and I've still seen it. Can that be adjusted, since obviously very few cars go straight anymore?
we did add left time. We added some left time to that. Is it recent?
I would say about 2 weeks ago was the last complaint I got about it.
That's about when we did the timing adjustments. So we'll keep an eye on that as well, too.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have a couple questions, too. So if you're going down College Avenue towards Darby, I got this complaint this morning. Apparently, there was a big backup at that intersection on College at Darby. And they noticed there wasn't that much traffic coming from Ardmore Avenue down Darby. Just wondering if we could adjust the timing.
This is in the morning?
In the morning, yeah.
Okay.
You could just look at that
That one,
issue.
too, because of the isolation of that intersection, we can adjust the time a little bit. And that's a good sign that Darby's not too bad. I'm
Yeah,
gonna add some
sounds
time
like
to
Darby's
College.
not bad down there, but
Okay.
it's backing up on College. And then the second thing is, if you're traveling down Hereford Road, approaching the intersection of College Avenue, that queuing lane can accommodate probably, 6 or 7 cars, maybe 8, I don't know. Just wondering if we could extend that queuing lane anymore, because that'll bring, obviously, more opportunity for the people that need to make a left turn onto College Avenue from Hereford Road, the opportunity to do so.
Heading into Havertown.
No, they're coming down Hereford Road from Ardmore Avenue, going towards College Avenue.
Gotcha.
Okay, and there's a left turn lane to go over the bridge. That queue lane is looks like it's 6 or 7 cars in depth. I'm just wondering if that can be, and then it's, because I'm sure people are just going around people and making.
There's a center left turn lanes down there through.
What's
through
that?
It's a center left turn lane as well down through there. So
There's
they
a s-
can stack in behind it. I'll look at the way the pattern is.
Yeah,
Sometimes
just
the way
see,
the pattern is.
I'm just wondering if we could extend the queue by maybe 4 or 5 or 6 cars, because I think it would take some of the traffic, enable more
we can
people to go
def-
straight.
We can definitely look
That
into it.
might save them a light or, a light or 2, at least 1 light, if we extended 3 or 4 or 5 cars temporarily, because it's all one lane there until you get to the intersection, so,
We'll definitely look at that lane pattern coming down through there.
thank you.
One other thing that I hear about, and I have been provided photos, the Coopertown and Darby stop sign that's been added, the Coopertown and College stop sign. In evening rush hour, it backs up traffic at 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30, dramatically up College Avenue. I don't know what you do. 'cause
The
it's a
three-way stop.
It was the three-way stop,
Yeah.
but it adds significant delays. Cars can't turn off of the Coopertown toward the Coopertown School. We're heading toward College. I can show you photos.
Yeah, there's really not much.
don't know.
I can't change the time.
Timing of the stop sign, I know. But most of the cars are going straight, very few are turning left, so
Yeah.
I don't know what you do.
I don't know whether we've experienced, I talked to the chief about this earlier, maybe a month ago, so about adding, I don't know whether that intersection, given that stop sign at Coopertown and College, whether the cars are backing up to the point where they're blocking the the second entrance, Coopertown. So I'm wondering, we talked about putting up a sign that says do not block intersection, so people can actually pull out.
That may have went up. I did make that request. I'll check to see if it went up.
Yeah, because I think cars tend to block the intersection. We want to make sure they're not blocking
I'll
that.
double check on that tomorrow.
We can definitely look into the do not block intersection as well.
We can get you a microphone. 1 second.
We could all hear you, but
If they get rid of the stop sign in that intersection you're talking about and don't make it a three-way stop sign, but just keep the stop sign on College approaching Coopertown and the one on Coopertown in that corner right there, but get rid of the other one so it doesn't back the traffic up all the way down College. No?
You can't pull out at Coopertown. You can't pull out at,
We live on College Avenue, and I would, the rate of speed on that road
Going
is
down
not 35 miles an hour.
I know.
It's more like 45 to 65.
You could put two more stop signs.
You can put more stop signs. So I would say absolutely not, because it slows the cars down. I'm sorry if it's taking you that long to get to the stop sign, go another way. But the amount of the rate of speed that comes off, even if you are going from Coopertown Road towards Haverford, you can hear them come out of that stop sign and go flying all the way down to Haverford Avenue.
I think the other problem, not only the speeding, but the fact is the folks that live on that section of Coopertown between College Avenue and Darby Road, that's a real choke point at both intersections. They virtually cannot get out if there's not a stop sign there.
We live
So,
it. I get it.
Okay.
But I'd rather have the stop sign
Yeah.
than have.
I totally agree. I
you know,
totally agree.
Because we can't pull out anyway because cars are driving too fast down the road that you can't get out.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd prefer that it's that. But I had another question for you. Darby Road and Eagle, if you're coming down Darby from Ardmore Avenue to make a left onto Eagle Road at Katz's Pharmacy, is there any way to put a left-hand turn signal on that? Because what's happening is a lot of the cars are coming down Darby Road to make the left on the Eagle, and it's backing all the traffic up because the cars are trying to turn left, and the cars that are wanting to go straight can't go straight. And there's a turn signal, there's a left turn lane on the opposite side of the intersection, but there's not on that side of the intersection.
right, they're signaling.
Yeah, I can,
Made, but
And I,
On that issue alone, because that has been a problem for 20 years that I've lived in this area, and no one has addressed it ever. Stretching that intersection like they stretch the Bryn Mawr Hospital intersection. It's ridiculous. I don't spend nearly as many dollars in Havertown as I should, because you can't get there.
so the Darby and Eagle Road intersection. Yeah. I can look,
what ends up happening is your traffic at rush hour coming down Darby Road is almost a golf view to try to get through the intersection at Darby and Eagle Road. And the majority of it is because of cars going left. There's not enough of an easement there where the cars that want to go straight, because the cars that actually want to go straight have to go to the right.
yep.
Right. It's an off-centered intersection,
So,
and it's
one. It's been like that forever, but now it's compounded because of the detours.
yeah.
We can look at the left turn phase there. I gotta be
So-
careful, I gotta be careful because there's a left turn phase coming the other direction.
Correct.
And I gotta look at buses turning in there,
I
because
get it.
of the
Just
skew of the intersection.
Asking for
So I'll-
consideration, that's all.
We'll look at it.
Just so you know, the problem we've had with that intersection is it not only backs up along Darby there, but the crossing road of Eagle, I mean, it backs up to the Y and it backs up to St. Denis. So the challenges that we've had anytime anybody's looked at it is that there is limited space there in terms of there's private ownership.
Would that be a perfect place for eminent domain?
I mean, we're not going to do eminent domain based on the Ardmore Avenue Bridge, but
From the gas station a little bit
We'll look at the intersection and see what we can do. Any other timing signal? Good. I hope I just saved us like 2 hours now, right?
Yeah.
Right, Steve, you want to finish?
All right. Thank you, Paul. Click through, there's just a couple slides showing the stop sign at Coopertown College, showing Ardmore Avenue at Darby Road, College Avenue, Haverford Road, Ardmore, and Haverford as well, just some of the improvements that were made along the way Paul has talked about. Okay, we're going back just a little bit. Before we close the road and demolish the bridges, we had to relocate our utility lines. All the overhead utility lines were moved over with live traffic going through, flag traffic. And second one, PECO Gas, they also have completed their cut and capping of their gas main that runs across the bridge. That was just after we started the detour that first week. Just a couple pictures of the PECO Gas work that's going on, digging a pit and doing their work there. This one is showing the overhead transmission lines that when I talked about the issues with unable to get the outages that were required. Just so you can see the metal sheeting sticking up there, sticking up on the right side of the tracks there. To be able to put those in, we had to have a crane with a high mast, and therefore we had to have, and it was the only way to do it, we had to have a PECO outage due to the OSHA requirements. And as I talked to you earlier about the issues we had with it, and it postponed our outage till August, or our demolition till August 5th, the weekend of August 5th. Before we could do our demolition, though, pedestrians used the existing bridge. We have installed a temporary pedestrian bridge over the tracks. The picture is showing the actual night. We had a very short outage of the overhead transmission lines and the PECO line, or in the SEPTA line, to be able to set the bridge in place. We also pictures of them erecting the stairs afterwards to the bridge. And that's our completed pedestrian bridge. Couple more pictures. Again, this one is just showing the proximity of the overhead transmission lines, the equipment not working underneath it that required that outage. You can see the picture of them demolishing the bridge over the tracks and what they had to set up on the tracks to catch all the debris. Pictures of the progress of the demolition. This one has the bridge, or the span over the tracks out, and they're working on the other span. Bridge is down, cleaning up. And a picture of no more bridge. And again, it was a very successful weekend. It took a lot of planning and a lot of cooperation between everybody for that whole weekend to be successful. This is the other structure, the other main structure. They're showing the demolition of the bridge over Cobb's Creek. This one will eventually be a precast arch bridge, and it'll also have the golf cart path underneath. This one was done during the week of August 26th, during normal daytime operations. And there it is on the sports in the creek. Right now, this is a picture of our first footing that we're doing. They have excavated out on the, I guess it's on the golf course side of the bridge. And our first footing pour, this footing is supposed to be poured tomorrow. This is a picture. Also, the picture shows them working on the sheeting here on the Haverford Road side of the bridge with the big crane, showing why we had to have the outage there. And the slide gives you what's next. Foundation work will continue throughout on both sides of the tracks throughout the rest of 2019. We're expecting the bridge beams to be set either late December or early in January. Retaining wall construction will be starting that's late 2019, early 2020. And the precast arch bridge, which is a little simpler structure that we have out of the two, that'll be done sometime in early of 2020. And another picture of the excavation in the foundation. As I said, we're doing pretty well right on the schedule as far as we are right now. We were thrown back a couple weeks at the beginning. We're trying to deal with all those kind of issues for those 2 weeks of delay there. But right now we're doing real well, and we do expect to be open sometime June of next year. That's all I have. I don't know if there's any construction questions.
Just for everybody in the audience, the PennDOT officials aren't going to just immediately leave at the end of this presentation, so they'll be here for questions as they come up.
I had a question about the next steps for construction. One of the steps that I guess is that they drive steel beams into the ground, and it is, to say it's a massive disruption would be an understatement. I'm curious, I understand that schedules constantly change. If there is any sort of notice that you would be able to provide to local residents for that specific component of construction, because the last time that it had gone through, it started around 8 p.m. and ended at 2 a.m., although I understand there are massive restrictions that you guys have, considering that you have to work around the high-speed line and power grids and all of those factors as well.
Yeah.
I would say that the worst of that is over. That particular driving of the sheets were the most, would be the noisiest. That the worst of it is over. So there'll be some other limited driving of sheets throughout the project, but probably during the day, most likely during the day. So I think we won't have that problem, but we certainly will notify the neighbors at any time if it's going to be nighttime work.
Sir, can you just identify yourself too for people watching? Can you just identify yourself too for people watching?
Yes, my name is Mark Lomer. I'm the project manager. I'm the PennDOT person on site every day.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
So at this point, we'll turn it over to our police department.
So while the deputy chief's getting ready, I'll just go over some traffic enforcement details that we've had since the bridge closing. So we've had heavy police presence up in that area with massive details at the different intersections, and I'll list those. So at most of these intersections where there are traffic lights, we have either worked a traffic light or detour traffic. So at Darby and Ardmore, during before and up to yesterday, we have been there 18 times. Merwood and Cherry 27 times. And when you say Merwood and Cherry, that is a stop sign issue there. Golf House in Exeter, same thing there. Hathaway Lane, we've been on Hathaway Lane 57 times. Haverford Road speed checks 35 times. Overhill Road 12 times. Penn and Miller 4 times, Railroad Avenue 8 times, and Tunbridge Road 26 times. Now, understanding that a lot of these intersections, such as College and Haverford, Darby and Eagle, Ardmore and Darby, we have been operating these lights by hand during high traffic times. So when the bridge first closed, we had a lot of traffic issues, what we expected, and then as the summer progressed, things did smooth down. Yesterday, it was relatively calm. Today, things did back up. We expect things to calm down once again when everybody gets the flow. So the Deputy Chief will go over more of what we have done, what we will continue to do during this construction phase.
Good evening. Ardmore Avenue closed on July 5th, 2019 for the AM rush hour. That was the first day of the closure. The official detour route is Eagle Road to Darby Road to College Avenue to Haverford Road. Even though this is the official detour, everyone finds their own way to get through the neighborhood. So that was one of the things that we wanted to address aggressively is all the residential streets and the issues that's going to cause for the residents. So we did some traffic studies prior to the road closure, and then we did traffic studies after the road closure. These are the averages of a car per day. On Tunbridge, there were 612 cars per day. Golf House, 658 per day. Hathaway Lane had 2,456 cars per day. Merwood had 1,267 cars per day. These are the stats after the closure. Tunbridge Road had 255 cars per day. Golf House had 1,129 cars per day. Hathaway Lane had 3,496 cars per day, and Merwood Road had 1,186 cars per day. Some of the increases, especially or decreases on Tunbridge and Golf House, may have been due to there's gas work going on up in that area. So when people are trying to make it through their shortcuts, going around the road closed signs, going into the back streets, they were coming up to detours that the roads were closed. They would have to shoot off to some other streets. So the difference was a decrease on Tunbridge was 357 cars per day. Golf House was an increase of 471 cars per day. Hathaway was 1,490 cars per day. And Merwood was a decrease actually of 81 cars per day. Some of the actions that we took during the road closure prior to it, we put warning signs up here. You can see the three-way stop sign here. It has the one where friendly messages that, about stopping or you'll get a citation with the fine. Actually, the one on the bottom is a flashing stop sign to bring attention to the stop sign. We also put speed message boards up in the area. You'll see them, we keep moving around because the different areas are being affected. So we only have so many of these signs, so we keep moving around the different streets. But what they do is actually give a message. They'll give you your speed, it'll flash, it'll tell, slow down. So as we're putting these out, we're educating drivers how fast they're going and try to keep their speeds down. Some of the things that we've done during this whole process, we consulted with PennDOT, the commissioners, we held public meetings. During these meetings, we got many suggestions from the residents, and we actually looked at them, took their concerns in mind, and we actually addressed some of those issues. We also have been constantly in contact with Paul in reference to traffic light issues, timing, if we get complaints about, a lot of these street lights now, people aren't aware, they're kind of like smart traffic lights. They'll read how many cars and they'll change. So we've been in constant contact with Paul Lutz and PennDOT on this. We also been in contact with the school buses because that's important, getting the kids to school on time. So these are some of the plans that we went over. Social media. We often put out if there's road closures, any issues. One day during the summer, we actually had to close the detour route because a tree went down. And we had to wait for PECO to come out. PECO's standard response to us is 1 hour. We were on the phone telling them it's the detour route. They got out there pretty quick and actually got the road back open, but we're able to put use social media to make people aware of that. This is one of the things that we actually had to reach out to Waze. There was user apps, I'm a user of Waze, but we actually got administrative rights to Waze to go and edit stuff and put their stuff that normal people can't put on, like a constant road closure. We can actually monitor live traffic. We can zero in on what streets are being affected in different neighborhoods. Officers are out there conducting enforcement details in all the areas surrounding the closures to minimize the impact of the residents. We're also working traffic lights. The officers will be out at the major intersections. If they see a backup, they'll physically get out. There's a what we call is a plunger in there that manually work the traffic lights. As the chief said earlier, that we realized that there were some major backups on Darby Road yesterday morning, so we ended up getting out and working the traffic lights. We did the same thing this morning on Darby and Ardmore and College and Haverford. We added stop signs to intersections that were previously uncontrolled. Some of these older neighborhoods, they have the four-way intersections didn't have stop signs. No one's ever put a stop sign up there, so we looked at these different intersections that we thought may be an issue, and we added stop signs to those intersections. One of the things that we know that there's a backup occurring, people trying to get under the bridge. Sometimes at Hathaway, underneath the SEPTA bridge, people aren't considerate. So we put signage up there about yielding to oncoming traffic to improve the safety and hopefully cooperation between people going to and from underneath the bridge. Some of the other things we worked with the Public Works Department installing speed humps on the following streets that are affected around the closure: Overhill, Glenbrook, Westfield, Blakely, Valley View, and Rugby roads. And we're waiting on your petition, sir. Officers are monitoring traffic by conducting aerial flights with department drones to determine the backups, choke points, and areas that need immediate attention. So we have the officers deploying the drones. We're able to monitor the different streets and respond accordingly. These are some of the overhead shots from the drones. As you see, we can zoom right in on any streets that are affected by the closure. It's Haverford Road and Ardmore. Enforcement numbers, Chief gave you some of the enforcement numbers where we conducted. We've conducted, dedicated 300 man-hours of officers in the area to closure conducting traffic enforcement, directing traffic in the areas that are impacted by the detour and the closures. During these 300 man-hours, officers issued 47 traffic citations, 29 warnings in the area of the bridge closure. Plan going forward, we'll continue to conduct traffic enforcement areas impacted. Officers will continue to monitor traffic and control any intersections as needed. We'll also continue with the social media announcements to any important updates with traffic announcements and cooperations from the residents to allow plenty of time during their commute. That's one of the biggest things that we want to stress is during your 10-minute commute may take a little bit longer. So plan on leaving the house a little bit longer for the next few months until the bridge opens back up, and cooperation with the public and a little leaving the house a little bit earlier helps everyone out. So that's all I have.
No, I don't think so. Can I ask you, Joe? So could you talk a little bit about the enforcement side, both speed and stop sign enforcement? Because I think it's important that there be, and we've had this discussion before, and I know the force has done a great job in enforcement, but I want to make sure that going forward that we continue to enforce stop signs on both sides of Hereford Road, so Buck Lane and Railroad and Rugby and Polo. Those are all areas that are cut through traffic as a result of the detour, as well as the other side, and also speed enforcement. So if you could just address about how we're going to do that.
We're going to continue doing what we do each day and each morning. We divide it up between our special operations unit and also by the regular patrol officers. We mix it up to different areas. That way the people don't get used to seeing us sitting on the same stop sign. We're trying to gear more towards where there's more volume. That's why we're doing the traffic studies. Each, before the closure, after closure, we're planning on doing the traffic studies going forward so we can do a more directed patrol in those different areas. But I can assure you, we're hitting the Buck Lanes, we're hitting the Golf Views, in the Ardmore Manor, we're hitting Buck, we're hitting Doe and Moreland. I mean, we've been in all the streets that are surrounding the closure.
Okay, that's great. Appreciate your efforts there. And then just one other thing. I don't know whether this is really for us, or I guess I just would address it to PennDOT. I want to thank you for, we met up there, Deputy Chief Hagan and Director of Public Works and I met up at the intersection of Coopertown and Darby Road. And the original, there was a problem there. A big pothole was created by people coming up Coopertown Road, trying to make a right-hand turn, and basically creating a right turn lane when it was actually a shoulder. It was a shoulder of the road. And we came to PennDOT with the problem. Initially, you came back with the solution of making that one lane, eliminating the shoulder. And after meeting with Deputy Chief Hagan and myself and Director of Public Works and the PennDOT folks, you added a queue lane. You added, I think, room for enough for 2 or 3 cars, so that so people going on Coopertown Road towards Darby could make a right-hand turn instead of making one lane, which would have backed up the traffic significantly. So I want to thank PennDOT for working with us to come up with a good solution, I think. And would you agree, Deputy Chief Hagan? And I think it was a good end result.
Absolutely, it's a big help there, and I got to, with PennDOT, it's been very receptive, and I know we've inundated you with emails, but, there was a lot going on in a short amount of time, and you've been very helpful. But that turn lane there, and with your input and help, it'll be a big improvement there.
Yeah.
It's a big intersection, so when you folks sat down and looked at it, we were able to add those turn lanes and straight lanes.
That's a big choke point. I mean, if there's one intersection in the whole township, that is probably the biggest choke point, because you can't make a left-hand turn. Normally, even without the bridge being closed, it's very difficult to make a left-hand turn coming off Coopertown onto Darby. So there were suggestions about adding a stop sign, another stop sign on Darby, and I think that was ruled out by PennDOT as not practical, and also by our police. Is that correct?
Yeah, we spoke to PennDOT about that. We felt it would just cause more traffic problems with backups on Darby Road.
Yeah.
So PennDOT did turn it down, which we did agree with.
And then the other thing is, I think if we could, maybe we could add on Coopertown, I'm sorry, on College, coming from Darby Road, approaching that three-way stop intersection, that first three-way stop at Coopertown, if we could put maybe a sign, stop sign ahead or something like that coming, so there's some warning about this. I know there's a flashing stop sign, but that's an intersection where people really blow through on both sides. Put stop sign ahead, or just emphasize necessity. I don't know what kind of mitigation tools you might have in your arsenal, but I think whatever you can do to actually get people.
The drivers need more advanced notice that the stop sign.
I'm not saying they're going to actually stop, but I think anything we can do to try to emphasize then there's actually a stop sign coming up and you should stop. And I don't know whether it should be, we got a flashing light on it, but still people, I think that's a big issue. They just blow through that stop sign. And then there were just two other suggestions that were brought to my attention by some constituents. I'll just raise them and you can react to them. One was a request for a 4-way stop at the intersection of Buck and Coopertown. Actually, a Buck in Coopertown and Meadows, really. There was a request for a 4-way stop there. Not sure whether you looked at that or not, but you know what I mean? I don't know whether that's going to back up traffic. I know there's a bend there as you come from College, so.
Our traffic staff can look at that and look at all the facets of the intersection and determine what
And the same way, there was a request for a 3-way stop. There's a request for another 3-way stop at the other Coopertown and and College intersection. I think that one is maybe problematic because yeah, I'm not sure whether that works. That might back up traffic. I mean, those two stop signs they're so close together. I don't know. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Commissioner, we appreciate you and the township bringing these issues to our attention since July 15th. And everything you've sent us, that we've looked at and we've implemented something we can do, something we cannot. These others will certainly do them and get back to you with the response.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Then we're also, we're at this point, if anybody else has questions or comments, we're certainly open and available to questions. As we're getting the microphone to you, my one comment is just to reiterate what Deputy Chief Hagan said in terms of the actual drivers on the road. Both PennDOT and police are doing everything they can to make it safe for everyone. It's been an inconvenience, and it's going to take some consideration on all of us. I know especially at the Ardmore Junction train station where it's sort of one car at a time. It's sort of, the first couple of days were rough. I'm hopeful that more people have been considerate to let somebody go and then go on their own.
Towards that end, wouldn't it make sense to maybe put some don't block the box signs, at these choke point intersections, so people at Coopertown trying to take a left onto College aren't blocked by someone just blocking, the road. Just one time, I live on Ardmore Avenue, and at 5:30 from November, well, always, I can't get out of my driveway, take a left-hand turn, and people literally block me. I have to literally push my car out on Ardmore Avenue because they're going to go one car length further. And, so during this time, it might make sense in those choke points to put a sign up, please allow people, don't block the box. It's all over downtown Philadelphia. Doesn't always work, but at least it's a reminder. Right?
That's a good suggestion, particularly at that intersection of Coopertown and Darby. It's very problem.
So first, I just want to say thank you to everybody and all their hard work, because we know that you all are working very hard, and in the end, it's all going to be great for the township. I just have two possible safety issues. One is Hathaway. It's obviously it's used all summer long and all the time, but now with all the teams and the sports playing in Merwood Park, and the kids coming and leaving school, there's just, the traffic moves so fast through Hathaway. I don't know if there's any way to one-way it during rush hour.
Which side of Hathaway are you talking about, east or west?
The side going under the bridge.
Okay.
West, yeah.
But Merwood Park, sorry. Yeah, it's just, we're dropping off boys for football and stuff like that, and they can't cross the road. Like, they'll be squished like bugs. It's like a game of Frogger. So I'm not sure how to slow that down. And the kids leaving school, obviously St. Denis is up the road, so during the school time, and I know you can't regulate courtesy, but it's just really, really fast.
Yeah.
So 6-inch speed bumps would be great. The second thing is, and I know that there's construction trucks that have to go up and down College Avenue, but this rate that they go, you can hear whatever those brakes are called, those really loud brakes. They hit Coopertown Road, and it's like the Audubon. And they are flying up College Avenue. And because of the backups, all of a sudden you just hear, "Arr!" and they're squealing to stop because maybe they're hitting, Haverford, the light at Haverford or what have you. It's just the speed at which the trucks are flying up and down College. And again, I don't know how you can regulate that better, but it's really loud. We lost our fence 3 times when the College Avenue Bridge was closed, so I'm kind of hoping I don't have to replace it again, because I don't like it in the first place. So to have to replace it again is not really my wish. So those were the only 2 things I had, just safety things. Anything we can do as residents of College Avenue, we're happy to help. And about Tonbridge, that was confusing why there's more traffic there with Ardmore Avenue closed. So I'm not sure how they're coming through. People are kind of segueing and turning left onto Ardmore and cutting through. So I don't know how you stop them, though. It does have a big sign that says no turn, but.
I'll address Hathaway Lane. We'll do some speed enforcement up there. Yeah. You're finding it particular times of the day, or?
I think during rush hour, everybody's trying to turn right and cut. It's one of the cut-throughs, but it's really residential.
Understood.
10 miles an hour is probably too fast.
And I would just recommend, I'm assuming you're trying to drop off, if you take the extra 2 minutes and sort of go on to East Hathaway.
We've already made adjustments, but, on our own part, and so have a lot of the other families.
Yeah.
But it's still very, because even commuters coming off the train bridge.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've asked is that people, at that train, and in normal times, people drive up and they just sort of stop to let people out, but that, in the current situation, I'd ask you to maybe pull all the way into the parking lot and sort of let the traffic continue to flow, because any of the hesitation for people getting dropped off right in there is also going to slow down that that one way through the bridge.
Absolutely
And
agree.
it's a bad street in normal times in terms of what we can do with traffic, and this is obviously making it worse.
Instead of the yield sign to go under the bridge for the cars, maybe it literally just has to be a stop. So they stop on both sides, and then you'll see who's there and then drive through. I know it backs up traffic,
Yeah.
but you know what? Being 5 minutes late to wherever you're going is a lot better than someone's child, dog, you know,
What we
whatever
found was
person.
the cars coming off Haverford Road, going under the bridge, the queue backs right up on the Haverford Road. So when we assessed that, Kevin asked us to look at that, we felt that the yield signs were probably the best, and hopefully, as Joe had stated, that people will use a common courtesy to get back and forth. And I know it's difficult, but, you know, when you have roads that were built 100 years ago, not designed for traffic, it's tough.
And I'm guilty of this as much as anybody, but I've asked residents to not, when you park in that lot for Ardmore Junction, not walk under the traffic bridge, because that just slows cars down a little bit more, and it's obviously not safe. So like I said, it's a very difficult location in normal times. This is not making it better, but the police have been there pretty consistently.
I guess my point as like the resident of the township is that really can't, they're using that as the cut through. So whatever we can do to, I mean, I live on College Avenue. If you have to shove more people to College Avenue, then you have to shove them more there, or shoving them up to Eagle and trying to deter them from going down Hathaway. I mean, the residents who live there they can't cross the street to go to the park. They can't walk their dog. You know, it's dangerous. Just for a friend.
What?
I said, just speaking for a friend.
No, look, I know many of the people that live there, and I totally agree with you. It's, you know, at that stop sign at Overbrook, when the cop car's sitting there, people can cross over to the bus route. That's not ideal. I'm with you.
I would just make a comment about the importance of safety, given that school's back in session, everybody's back from vacation. I think, you know, as you mentioned, for the sake of 5 minutes, we want to make sure that we keep our kids safe, our dogs safe, and our families safe. So I would urge you to, you know, obey the speed limits, stop at the stop signs, and also, if you have an issue on your street where you think people are speeding, or you need stop sign enforcement, please call one of your commissioners, let us know about the issue. We can certainly pass along the information to the police department for them to, you know, hopefully take the appropriate action. The police department's been very responsive. We had a big problem up on Overhill and Glenbrook right from the outset, and they were all over that issue, putting up new stop signs, and got speed humps up, and they did a ton of enforcement up there. And so we can do that in other parts of the township as well. Any street that feels that you're, you know, have an issue with speeding or just people blowing through stop signs, which is, you know, often, unfortunately, it's sometimes your neighbors that are blowing through the stop signs. You know, it's unfortunate, but you can't control people's bad habits. And if you do speed enforcement, you hit it hard for a couple of days, and then 2 weeks later, it's back to the way it was, because you just can't control people's bad habits. But we can certainly make an attempt to try to do the best we can to mitigate and try to keep people safe. So make us aware of situations where you believe there is a problem with speeding or stop sign, people blowing through stop signs. So that's all I have.
Yeah, and I would just reiterate that obviously, welcome to contact me, and I know any of the commissioners, reiterate what Commissioner Lewis said. We're happy to serve, even if it's just, you just want to bend about the traffic, that's perfectly fine. Well, but I would also like to, you know, on my behalf, thank the police department and PennDOT for the responsiveness to this situation, and the residents for the consideration that they've paid so far. As we've said from the beginning, this is going to be a very inconvenient situation, and we're going to try to make the best of it. So thank you to everyone involved. And unless anybody else has any other questions, we'll wrap this up. All right, thanks.